people. I facilitate the adult leadership program. As we were just talking, that her mother and her grandfather have been in it. And I don't know if any of you guys have parents or relatives that have been through leadership program. Can I your parent?
My mom did.
Who was that?
Misty Wright.
There we go. So that's been a program in place for almost 40 years. And I was really blessed to be able to take that over from the person who got it started with a group of people. And I think what you see there is the common theme is that it's not just me or it's not just Kathy. It's a group of people that make it happen. So I'm glad that you're in this group of people that's going to make things happen in this county now and in the future. Now, Kathy, did you want to talk anything about this topic? Or?
No, I didn't. The only thing I did want to say is just an echo to what she said. We hope that one day, this is something that hasn't happened yet, but I really want it to happen. I want somebody who's gone through youth leadership to come back and go through the adult program. And we haven't had that happen yet, but maybe one of you guys will be one of the first after you get through college and all that, come back to Roane County, that maybe you'll go through the adult leadership program. So
that would be great. So anything about the topic that you want to say?
I did see this topic last week on change, and you guys, you're going to have change all your life, and that's part of it. Instead of, I don't want to get into what she's going to say, but I think you'll find this a fun activity and something that you will find very useful that you'll be able to use from now on.
So for this activity, and for some of this, you'll be sitting, some of it you'll be moving around. The first thing I need to do, though, Kathy, we're going to move over there, so can you turn your video around? Everybody go to that open space over there, if you will. And we're going to kind of get in an oval right here, in a big oval. So did you get your t-shirt today being released? Did they get it?
I have to go back and reset my
Okay. I go tomorrow for my, I think, final day. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, so you'll be my partner, okay? No, did I count that right? Yeah. There are 13 overall, or 10?
There's 11 here tonight.
Okay. So I want you to face a partner, so you face her, oh, you gotta turn there.
Oh,
You gotta turn there, you gotta turn there, you with me. So here's what you're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to stare at our partner quietly for 30 seconds. Now, I don't have my cell phone on me, Kathy, so would you tell me when it's 15 and when it's 30? Okay? Can you do that? So just stare and observe your partner.
Time?
Is that 15 or 30?
15.
Okay, now did that feel like 10 hours or something? Yeah. It does, doesn't it? And you guys are so good and compliant. Adults, I can't get to shut up. And this is interesting because adults cannot even stand staring at each other. It's even worse than you, because I'm thinking change. Nobody likes it, but adults hate it worse than your age. So this will be very interesting. Wasn't it last week when you saw me do this with a whole group of adults? The leadership group did this. You couldn't get them to be quiet, to do anything. They were so uncomfortable looking at another person, and the men were the worst. So we had 2 men together, and they couldn't even stare at each other or anything. It was just so uncomfortable for them. So here's what I want you to do. Now that you've done that, I want you to turn your back to your partner, and I want you to change 3 things about your appearance. And then you're going to turn back around, kind of check with your partner and say, kind of like, are you done, or something like that. And then turn around, and your partner's going to identify those things you changed. Now, leave the changes the way they were. Don't like when she or he finds them, you put them back. Just leave them the way they are, and then I'll get back with you, okay? So change 3 things about yourself. Tell me when you're ready.
okay. Just start. Oh, you're continuing. Yeah. What's your? Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This was.
Why did you not see my sleeve right there that I had?
Hold that song out.
Alright, leave it though, leave it where it is. Did everybody get it? Alright, we're gonna do it again. Turn your back. Now look here, leave it up, leave it up. Now I'm gonna challenge you, and you're gonna do 3 more. So that means in addition to, so like this was one of mine, you know, I put my bracelet in my earring. So I'm gonna leave that, and I'm gonna leave whatever else I did and do 3 more, okay?
Wait. Oh, yeah, I think I'm ready. Oh, wait, no. I haven't.
Ready? You ready?
You tell me when you're ready.
Okay. I'm ready.
Alright, here we go.
I feel like that sucked pulled out. Okay, and you took that one in. You switch your bracelet.
Your ring didn't switch to the.
Okay.
Okay, one did. So that's 2.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you took it.
Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, how'd we do? Are we getting it? Okay, we swapped jackets. Just leave it there. Leave it there. It's a good jacket, isn't it? I'm surprised I can even get yours around my arms. Okay, so we even swapped jackets. So get creative. We're going to do it one more time. 3 more. 3 more. Oh, back to you.
Oh, man. Here. Give me that. No, give me that. You don't keep your bracelet. That's what she used to be. Okay. Okay, just one. Oh, it's around my ear. Got it. It's, what? Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, here's my ear. There's 1, 2. You ready?
You took a shoe.
Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah, right. Yes. Okay. So you. Julia.
And that sounds bad if somebody were to walk by and we were saying, okay, you can get dressed. Don't, we'll have to be careful. Edit that out of my video. All right, good job. You can go back where you were. Kathy, it amazes me that young people have no problem with that activity.
Not at all.
So Kathy was there to see it.
The one that I forgot. I had my shoe.
That's the first time I've ever done that with young people. That's cool. Now that's a science experiment. I might do some of my doctoral work on that because you guys did that activity, no problem. What's the first thing the adults said, Kathy?
They were fussing, you know, because they couldn't do it.
They
There's
were
not
actually-
anything else, or what do I have to take away?
Oh yeah, I don't have it. There's nothing, I don't have anything I can change. Or we got to the second round, they didn't do a third round.
Yeah.
They would say, I don't have anything else to change. They're mine and mine. I'm 54. I know that's ancient to you guys, but they were really set in a mode. Pretty much out of 20-something people that were doing this activity, many of them, if not most, were, well, I don't have anything else to do. Now, how many of you, he and I swapped because I know the activity, and I tried to see if any of you would see me swapping with him. So that's why I said that I did that. Did anybody swap with the person that you turned and saw before I said that? So you did that as well. See, and that's another positive advantage that you have, is that no adult saw it. No adult saw that as a possibility. Everybody just looked at themselves and said, what do I have to do? And most people in that activity, including me when I did it with you, was we took something off. Did you guys do that when you did your first change? Did you take something off? You just swapped things, okay? You found an opportunity. Most of you either took your hat off or maybe that first round or something like that. So that's very interesting to see that you guys just didn't really stress about it. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, and you just did it, and you went all the way to the third round. And I'm so tall, my voice is echoing off of this. I apologize for that. And you were able to adapt and change. Here's what I see. I'll have to move this. I'll be right back. Sorry. I move around a lot. To whoever's having to watch us, I apologize. Most people see that word, and what's their reaction? What's your reaction? I mean, when you see that word, or you know something is going to significantly change, what's your reaction?
Is it gonna be good or bad?
It could be good or bad. What?
Don't like it.
You don't like it? I mean, what's your reaction just to that word when we see change?
Stress.
Stress? Okay. Now, did they do the disc?
No, but I do want to do it next year.
Okay. So some personalities are they take that a little bit easier than others. Some personality styles really just like change and they thrive on it, and some do not. And so, and then some with certain ages like it, or some do not. So tell me some changes that you faced in the last 2 years. You personally. Anybody have a significant change, or has anybody changed schools?
My whole family life changed. Everything's different at my house.
Yeah, that's right. And you changed schools?
And I got a new family member that
You weren't expecting.
That's right. You got I remember. Both of those. What else was significant change?
my papa passed away like 2 months ago.
I saw you at the game the other night when your little brother said that about,
Yeah.
you know, it really tore you up, didn't
Yeah.
it? And you made me cry, you know,
Yeah.
and I know your papa.
Yeah.
Yeah, change is really, you know, a lot of times we see it as hard or scary, right? And a lot of people do. Any other changes that's happened in the last couple of years that,
My grandparents moved here from Colorado.
that could be seen as a good change, right? But even good change sometimes can cause us to, you know, you think about this new baby, right? And we came in, oh, it's so cute and that's fun, but that was a whole dynamic change to the family, wasn't it? even if it's expected, right? And you know somebody's about to have a child, and it's just a big change. So change can be challenged. That's kind of the message. And you guys did phenomenally on that activity, whereas I've had groups that literally, on the third round, I've had people sit down and not do it because they said, there's nothing else I have to change. They didn't see that there was a possibility of using somebody else's stuff. You know, that, this change could help me reach out and create something new instead of just seeing it as a takeaway, okay? So it's kind of a mindset. And you, as youth leaders, you saw, this is especially what the adults do. Did any of you feel awkward? You may have, because you were staring not at another youth, you were looking at me, okay? And we were doing our activity. Now, if I hadn't have met you, just even didn't meet you, but we'd kind of been in the same space doing some similar stuff, maybe it was even more awkward, because I was a little more of a known. You know, we had one common thing anyway. So here's how they usually see it. Change seems to bother us. It's disruptive. Even good change, as I said. All right, so for the sake, let's see if I can pull that out. Do you guys, any of you watch, I'm so used to my little touch screen that I'm having a hard time figuring out how to go. Any of you watch this, what's that called? Sheldon Cooper, Big Bang Theory. Anybody watch that, or is that an older person's song? So you know this character right here. Is that right? Let's see, this is how a lot of people feel about, oh, are we allowed to do that? I don't want to get...
Do you guys mind if I start?
Penny, that's where I sit.
Sit next to me.
No, I sit there.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Here we go.
In the winter, that seat is close enough to the radiator to remain warm, and yet not so close as to cause perspiration. In the summer, it's directly in the path of a cross breeze created by opening windows there and there. It faces the television at an angle that is neither direct, thus discouraging conversation, nor so far wide as to create a parallax distortion. I could go on, but I think I've made my point.
Do you want me to move?
Well, sit somewhere else. Fine.
Now they're going to go along with change, but here's how it feels if we don't handle it right.
Sheldon, sit!
Our company has a new strategic initiative
Sorry,
to increase market penetration, maximize brand loyalty.
So that's how people react to change, even if they go along with it. Now, think about the big change that's being discussed in this county.
School.
Yeah, school consolidation, or 2 schools staying out and 3 combining, all 5 combining. Now, have you been following that any on, now who is the taxpayer, you or me and Kathy right now? I mean, you pay a sales tax and stuff, but we're the property tax owners, right? You and your families, but, so guess who's having the hardest time with change? I'm not saying for or against, but I'm saying, what's the dynamic of change in a company? You might not see it in a company, you might, that's the one thing I could figure out that most ties to every one of you, is that significant change. That's significant in it. And your parents or whoever guardians that you live with, they're either for or against, right? And they may have passion for it, and it's come out on Facebook. It's amazing the challenge that's created and the culture of, but what it tells me as a person who studies organizations and change is, whoa, look at the change effect. You see what I'm saying? The what it's doing to people in terms of their mindset. And sometimes people that are for it or who are against it, they might not really know all the facts. They just know it's different. And it's going to be significant change. And I mean both sides, okay? And so if you'll follow that, not just from the perspective of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but from a leader standpoint. All of you are going to be leaders. You are now. And I lead an organization. I just led about, I don't know, it was 80 people or something, and now it's down to, I just had a significant change, and now it's down to much less. And even letting go of where it looked like it would be all right, good, you know, she don't have to have all those people anymore. Change is a challenge. So last night on Facebook, you may not follow Robert Bailey, who's our county historian. He posted a picture of an elementary school that used to be right where the Kingston band, you're Kingston, right? Who else is Kingston?
The other one is
Okay, right where the Kingston current band room is, there was an elementary school. And it was a combination of 2 other schools, kind of like Walnut Hill and Bowers when they combined. And I don't know if you've done Dillis Springs when they combined. And boy, that was just a raucous. And I look back and nobody even knows about it now, except the people who were during that time either teaching or in those classes. it's just interesting how change impacts our county, it impacts organizations, and you personally. And so the message here is, well, what are we going to do about it? And how are we going to handle it? So let me show you a few things about change that I find interesting in studying it. Oh, I got to get up here. I got to get. Sorry, Kathy, I know you're trying to track me.
No, you're good.
That's almost impossible. All right, let's get real quick to. Okay, so this is what I found interesting when you Google and you just go, what's change management? So this is kind of a dictionary. It's actually Wikipedia, which by the way, at Rome State and anywhere else you're doing it, you cannot use Wikipedia as a source if it to be considered a serious source when you're writing papers, just so you know. But this isn't a serious paper that I'm submitting, so I find that to be interesting. And I put the words that I think are the most challenging for people. Remember, a person, a school, a community, a county. Change is the approach to transitioning individuals, teams, organizations, and I could put out there comma, counties, schools, all those things I just said. Redirecting resources, business processes, everything about how things are done, and reshaping that organization, that person, that, first of the year by every individual just about, well, not Kathy because she stays healthy 365 days of the year. But a bunch of us go, you know what, I'm going to get healthy. That's even a change, right? So we got to change our patterns, change our processes. Counties have to do that when they change things. Schools have to do that when they change things. And you're going to be a leader. So guess what? And you're already a leader. You're going to be right in the middle of leading change. And most people, when you want to go that way, are going to be pulling and going, no. Like Sheldon was. No. I only sit right there, and if you watch that show, that was the very first episode of all of the shows. He never changes, does he? He always wants that seat if you're a person who watches that show. All right, now you don't know what this is maybe. Did anybody watch reruns? You're the youngest group I've ever shown this slide to. Anybody watch reruns and have any idea what TV show that is? It's anybody heard Goodnight John Boy? The Waltons, have you seen it? The Waltons, so da-da-da-da-da-da, that's kind of that theme song. So that's, I know, old for you guys. But I had to show you this because that was a show I watched all the time growing up. Now, it was in the 70s, but it was playing out a story in the 30s in the Great Depression, okay? So that was where the story was about, but it was in the 70s, a TV show. Now, during that time in the show, so in the Great Depression era, they get this thing right here. Anybody know what it is? Radio. It is a radio. And look, now where's your radio right now? First of all, do you listen to the radio? Where, you only listen to it where?
In the car.
In the car, okay? And it was a big deal. I mean, this was huge. And that family there's Grandpa, Grandma right there on the table with their elbows, and there's John Boy, the one, I don't have a pointer. Do I have a pointer right now? Yeah, oh yeah. I don't know if I can figure out how to use it. Anyway, John Boy, and then Mom and Dad. Anyway, that was huge. And they would sit around the living room at night and listen to the radio. It was their only form of entertainment. And Grandma would knit, and other people, especially the kids, would sit still and listen. Now, does that describe the way you do your night? In my house, we have 3 levels in our house. When everybody lived there, Madison's off to college. When everybody lived there, Madison lived upstairs in her little area. I'm on the main floor, and Jerry, my husband, is on the main floor, and Eli's somewhere, but if he's anywhere, he's in the basement. All right? I mean, and they text me when they were younger. Whatever can you bring me something, or can you get something, or is there any milk in the refrigerator? He texts me. That is not how that was, right? So look at the change. So change is a good thing, because can you imagine you living around in that time where you sit around the living room all quietly with just your family, and you sit there and you look at something like that? And that's how they got their information, and that's how they got their entertainment. All right? That is a real picture of it right there in the Walton Museum in West Virginia. So that's really what the radio looked like. In my day in the 80s, and Kathy, I don't know about yours, let's see, I can show you a picture of it. Oh, look at that boom box right there. So in 20 years, after all these things here, now all can be done. Everything there can be done on a cell phone. And how many of you have a cell phone? Everybody. And how many has a smartphone? Right? Do you even know what a flip phone is? And now that looks, a flip phone is like that picture of that radio to you now, isn't it? I mean, people have flip phones, you kind of go, oh. Now you're going to laugh at this, but I had a bag phone. When they first came out, this was in 91, maybe 90s.
I'll bet they don't even know what a bag phone is.
I'll have to look that up and show you. It literally was, this was the first cell phones for cars. It was a little briefcase like, it had an antenna, and you plugged it into your car through the, where you plug your lighter in, which they don't even have those anymore in cars, where you did the lighters. And it cost you like $3 a minute. And I can remember my now husband, then boyfriend, because we were dating, he says, don't even turn that on, it costs so much money. You know what I'm saying? Now my kids are so mad we don't have unlimited data. We got 16, whatever it is, but not unlimited. And 16 is not enough, okay? So it's just amazing. So now look at this picture real quick. I was in Savannah, Georgia, and this is what I'm assuming dad, and these are his two little kids, and right over here, this is an outdoor kind of theater, restaurants and walk and such. Right over here is like a band playing, just a little bit. I'm sitting about right in here at an outdoor cafe, and I'm watching this. And I see these little girls, they catch my attention by dancing and moving up. They go up towards the band and then they go back towards this man. And they catch my eyes, and because first of all, I'm going, where are their parents? You know, that's dangerous and this kind of stuff. So I see them going back and forth to him, and suddenly he turns the phone around, and they run back, and who are they talking to, we would assume? Maybe their mom, okay? And now that's a normal for those little girls. That's normal. Well, let's just call so-and-so and get them on the phone. I want to see them. How many of you do that? FaceTime. Do you do that? Skype, that kind of stuff. That's normal for you. And I love it how grandparents are getting into that because they get to see their grandkids. It's shrinking the world. I have a coworker whose grandchildren live in Seattle. And that's one of her son lives in Seattle. So one set of grandkids are there and one set of grandkids are in Florida, and she lives here. And she spends time with both of them throughout the year. She's retired now, so like 3 or 4 months each place. But when not, she's on FaceTime with them. So I love technology, and it's a must. So let's look at some technology changes. Remember, we don't like change, but look at that. I can tell you, I can remember carrying that dang boom box around. I mean, it was like this. It was heavy, and it took D batteries. It was so expensive to play, all right? And now where we go to physical therapy, they got like a little Bluetooth something. It's just a little bar that sits over there, and you know, there's no wires connected to or anything. So there's 50 things right there that are now in your cell phone. I don't even carry a calculator. What do you do? Where do you go to the calculator? On your phone, okay? All right, so look at this. True, these are all true pictures. You might have fun sometime, you may not. Go back if you got some time and you're on Wi-Fi, save your data. Go back and just look at things that don't exist anymore because of technology and change. So there's this. Look at how many workers there are. This is when people could go to high school or not even go to high school and get a job. Drop out in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Probably some of your grandparents. I'm not judging them. I would say my grandparents didn't go on and finish or anything. But look how many workers. Now look today. If you tour the Nissan plant or if you tour any manufacturing plant just about, now they're having to learn not to talk to each other, but to figure out how to program and interface with robots. By the way, that's a cool YouTube video. Go to YouTube sometime and type robot manufacturing. You can see how they work. It's so cool. Now look at this. This is true. So that is a 3D printed car. That is a car that was printed at the Detroit Auto Show. I was there. This was being printed. But the good news is you're right in the middle of this technology change because right up the road in Oak Ridge, Tennessee is where 3D printing, it's actually in the Knoxville area. But 3D print, they print cars, they print houses, they can 3D print, they 3D printed a Jeep that actually has a battery in it that runs the house that they 3D printed. They're just tied together like a camper or something, but they run off of this battery that, by the way, is powered a lot by solar panels on top of the Jeep. I mean, isn't that cool? So that's a 3D printed car, and in 1 week at the Detroit Auto Show, about 3 years ago when I was there, that car was printed. Now, you guys have 3D printers in your schools now, right? We toured education the other day. Oliver Springs has some stuff. I don't know about everybody else. I know that, most people do. But that's, called additive manufacturing. Instead of taking away and chipping away or forming metal or steel, we now add some kind of either a metal or steel or a polyurethane, plastic, whatever, and we build it based on a file. All right? Now that's the car, but that was the first car printed. That's not that same one. This is the very first one. This was up at the Detroit Auto Show, and that was beside it, showing how to print a car. That's truly was made in Oak Ridge at the National Lab, and you can see right here. Are you okay, Kathy? Your lunchtime?
I'm good.
It says Department of Energy, Oak Ridge National Lab. It's a 3D printed car. I got to sit in that car, which was cool, except you had to have pretty long legs like I was glad I did, because you got to step into it. But they also print buses that are driven without people. They have them on college campuses. They're called Ollie, and you can Google all of this. And they run in cities and some college campuses, and they run on tracks, and they got sensors in the roads, and it just keeps going and stops at certain places and goes whatever the track is, and students or people get off and on, okay? So tech change is just interesting. This is an interesting timeline here on what it took to implement some of this. So it took 68 years to get to the place where we are on planes. That's a long time from idea to actually using it. And we look at this, 19 days for Pokemon Go. So change isn't just occurring, it's happening very quickly, Facebook 2 years, iPhone 2.75 years. That's iPhone, must be iPod, internet, all this stuff. From the time it was kind of thought of to a time that it actually came to market. So again, these are all facts, and change is happening fast. How do you guys take tests now a lot? Online. This is going to make me sound old, but we didn't have computers when I was in high school. And I'm not old, okay? I didn't teach with computers. I used to teach high school economics, business economics, and we did this game where every student got fake $10,000, and they got to invest it in the stock market. Do they do that nowadays? Okay, we were one of the first years to do that. But every day we had to get the Tennessean newspaper, and they would rush in and they would pull up their paper. How do you do it now? You go online and look?
Yeah.
See? It's amazing, all right? All right, so here is what you're going to deal with. Personally, you will deal with this. All the significant change that you guys are talking about. And your school, if you want to change something about your school, are you in student government? We ought to do it this way. You're going to face these things. The county itself, when I talk about the school consolidation, you're going to see this. So look at this process of change that people go through, counties go through it, companies go through it, families go through it. First thing is usually shock and denial. That's not going to happen. It didn't happen. And even if they saw, yes, that did happen, this is going to say no. All right? So know that up front. As a leader, you're going to have to go, okay, now we're going to do something different. And that's the first reaction of all the students, all the people, all the families. It did not shock me to see the county go, what? Combined schools? No way, blah. And I went to several of those meetings and saw people get up to the microphone and just wear the commissioners out, wear the school board out. And it was interesting because what you were seeing was this phase right here. Denial and then resistance. I mean, they were going to fight it, okay? And that's just one change. I'm just using that because I thought maybe that was a recent one that all of you might be aware of. There's a lot of change. Then they're gonna come to, eventually, I guarantee you this will happen sometime. And I don't know if it's our lifetime or not, but at some point, they're gonna come to, okay, exploration. Well, if we did change, what if we left 2 out and only changed 3? Do you see that kind of bargaining and exploring all the options? But you will always tend to get no. It's not going to happen. We've always done it this way. And no matter what the change is, not just the school. And sometime you might get to commitment and actually change. Okay? Now, I found this interesting. I can't really do this. Any of you do sign language? So I've got this. I hope I can do it right. Change in sign language. Now I want you to see where my fingers are. So if I do this right, do you do sign language, Kathy?
It's been a long time.
Well, you're supposed to flip your hands.
Yes.
And the way your fingers are, they're supposed to be the opposite.
In the palm, like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could do switch would just be like this. Switch, something like that. But what I see is, look at this U, and when I went to see that, I see this U here, because this is the journey, right, of change. And you gotta remember that as leaders, you know, any of you play basketball, you do, so if you ever want to change the song you run out to, or the thing that you do to change, like you do layups first, no, let's don't do layups first, let's do something else first. You're gonna still face resistance, you know. So what it does is becomes a U. So if you look at C for change, you got to remember that eventually you got to get to this, but you're going to have to go through those stages first. So don't let the first stage stop you. That's what I'm trying to get at. Don't let the first stage stop you. Now, we've got just a little bit, 7:30, right? Thank you. I lose those a lot. I know I'm preaching to you a lot. I don't mean to. This is what we see. It's always been this way. It's like this everywhere. For me, you might hear it's not in the budget. What did we hear from the county commission?
It's not the budget.
Not in the budget. Oh, it's tradition. Okay? And again, I'm only using that not to convince you one way or the other, to let you be able to see that that's common. That's normal for us to fight it and say stuff like this. It's a process. It's political. It's tradition. Okay. It's not going to happen, is what they're saying. Now, here's the real reasons why people fight it, why they say that. Why adults, when we did that activity that you guys did and you didn't have as hard a time doing it as they did, here's really why it bothers them. Secretly, they fear the unknown. Not necessarily the change, but the how to get there. Okay? That's what's feared. All right? They also wonder, okay, where am I going to fit in? When I went to one of the meetings, a parent got up and was talking about, my kid's going to get lost in such a big school. And, so all of the change was about, where do I fit in? So anything you're going to implement, okay, I'm going to pick on you, is that okay? You got this new baby. How does it impact me? You probably take care of something now that you didn't take care of before, right? How does it impact me? That's very normal. Well, how's this going to impact me? Where do I fit into this? So just know that's a normal thing. And this is what you're going to hear. And they're tired of it. They're tired of not knowing absolutely secure stuff. Okay? All right. So here's how you as a leader might go, I want to do this. And back to my common example. Somebody that wants the change in the schools sees it. They just see it. That's how they see it. How good it could be. And here's how people feel. And if you don't plan for having to bring people along with you for change, whatever the change is, you're going to get people to feel like that. The goal of a leader is to get them to feel that way as soon as possible. So you've got to pay attention to these few things. Okay? I'm going to ask you from Aaron. Not Logan.
Yes.
Logan. What does that say?
Share as early as possible.
Share as early as possible. So what do? You share as early as possible, as much as you know. As much about that as you can. And there's going to be a blue fish, and it's going to look like this, and you give people visuals. you know, you could do a whole study about the trying to roll this out, this school consolidation, because when did we get a visual? If everybody could have seen that, maybe they wouldn't have had such a hard time. It's just interesting to see. So you as a leader, that's what you got to do to avoid that confusion. You got to share as much as you can as early as you can. Am I going the wrong way? Yeah. Do you have your project yet?
They've completed their project.
That's right. Remind me what it is. What it was.
Did they have a huge care package for the children's hospital?
That's exactly right. Okay. That probably didn't cause any stuff with people, did it? Any change? But you still got to tell people what you're doing. So share as early as possible. What's next? You got to be honest about everything. I got to be honest on the impact of you. We're going to adopt this child, and here's what's going to happen to you. You know, I got to be honest about it. Because if I'm not, as a leader, you will not ever follow me anywhere because I wasn't honest with you. Because you won't trust me, right? So in change, tell them early as much as you can and as much as you know about the impact. When I did a major change at work, when I took on 45 new people, I remember probably 40, no kidding, 40 of the 45 were worried about losing their job. And I said, all I know I can tell you is in the next 6 months, I'm learning. I don't know enough to get rid of you. So you're okay. And in the end, nobody lost their job. Right? But that's how people feel in organizations. And I guarantee you that's how a lot of people feel in terms of what this may be. So be honest. It may get you, but you need to be honest. Be optimistic. What does that mean? Who knows? Look at the good points, right? Be optimistic. Be optimistic, because if you're not, and you're like, oh gosh, you know, we gotta do this, or we gotta go do that, then you're not going to create a desire for change. Be optimistic. Involve where you can. Find ways to involve people. Have there been any significant changes that you would want to make at your school? Who has either made a significant change or seen a significant change at your school, or you would like to make a significant change? Anybody? Give me an example that's not school consolidation.
We need a better sewage system at our school or something, because one of the urinals burst at school today and it smelled terrible.
I
And
realized
so
that one of the rednecks sprayed deer pee in there, and that's what it was.
What's your school?
The Midway.
Midway, oh, that's right,
And
Midway.
a couple years back, the sewage system burst and there was like feces everywhere.
Ooh, that's good.
So
That would be a cause for change, wouldn't it?
you'd think.
Has there been anything that you've seen change besides testing? Sorry, Kathy.
No, you're good.
Besides testing that's gone so electronic, what else has significantly changed? Anything else? Who has gone to block scheduling, and was it during your lifetime there? Anybody changed? You guys just went to block.
Midway's
Did that
been on
change?
block forever, haven't they? Yeah, they've been.
Midway's been on block.
Forever.
Oliver Springs just went to block.
Mhm.
We just heard that on Education Day. Has that changed anything about the culture of the day?
Yeah.
A little bit. We got more classes now.
I will tell you one that threw your teachers into a tailspin, if you won't tell them I said this, who I'm being taped. Middle college threw schools into a little tailspin, didn't it? You guys all know what that is? Many were for and many were against. It made a significant change, didn't it? In a lot of things. It gave students more choices. It gave them more options, but it really disrupted the norm of how students go to high school. You know? And I would say dual enrollment did that when it was introduced way back when. I mean, dual enrollment was not in place when I went through high school. It's like always been in place in your mind, hadn't it? I mean, you've not known school without it. But that was a significant change when it was implemented. And middle college is a significant change. And one day, it will not be any big deal. But now it is. Okay? So, and my daughter went through it, so I know exactly what change occurred there, okay? And what she experienced as a result of that change from either teachers or other students. And even with the best intentions by the principals who were trying, there was just change. Was hard, and it still is. And every county we go to add that, Roane County was the first, so you guys got the first of it. We just added Cumberland. It's our 5th county that we're doing this in. It's the exact same reaction. And so we've got to learn, we have to learn, well, how do you implement that to minimize reactions like that? But the students who end up doing it and succeeding, they love it. So it's just, it impacts everybody differently, okay? All right, so here we go, just a few more. You gotta define everybody's role in that new world. Like I was just saying about you. And your role has changed you said in your family world, right? Everything's kind of changed. And in your life, it will be everything before that and what life was like after it, right? When you refer back in time, you will go, this is what it was like before that event, and this is what it's like after that event, right? So it can be challenging, okay? And people on middle college, they'll go, this is what it's like before that dang middle college started, and this is what it's like now. But just like I said, with the county historian posting that picture of that elementary school, and I got on Facebook and I said, where was that located? Because I'm not from here. And he said, right where the Kingston band. Well, I mean, there's whole people that never knew that existed. Do you even know? Did you know that existed, that old elementary school that was right there? Is there something that's made you remember that?
I think one of my grandparents went there.
Okay. So you have some tie to it, but you may never mention it to your children, you know, and they'll never know. So it's just interesting how things change. Okay, but you got to define how roles are going to change, because that's what's making them nervous. That's what's making them nervous about the changes. Well, something's going to happen to me and I don't know what it is. Okay? That might be how the AP teachers felt about middle college, because that might lower the AP numbers. And I'm not on one side or the other. Madison had a great experience, but not everybody necessarily does. And I know it impacts the school and all that kind of stuff. I'm just giving you examples that you might be able to relate to. Provide training to understand what the new world is, and communicate. And it's more than a one-time thing. It's got to be a constant thing to people. So I'll show you the picture of the puzzle, because in my mind, I know where we're going. In your mind, you feel like that box is just all poured out, because I haven't shared anything else with you necessarily if I'm not good at change. So you're all leaders, and there's the things that will help you as a leader implement change. Okay? You're going to be in that role where you're going to be changing things now and in your life. Just remember, that's going to be common and natural for people to go, what? I'm not going to do that. I mean, do people freak out when they move a couch from one place in their house to the other? Sometimes even people are that picky about change. Nope, we've always had carpet. We're not getting something else. We've always had the couch right there. Not going to get to put it anywhere else. My mother's had the same couch since the year I was born. And how old did I tell you I was?
54.
54. 2 years ago, she got it recovered. She still has the same couch, she just got it recovered. Change is not something that she's into, you see. So, anyway, you guys are going to be making great things happen in this county, and I'm so excited for you. And I know that was like an hour long, it seemed like, sure, I'm so sorry about that. But I think that this kind of sums it up. I won't do it. You see, you can see the journey here. I can't do it. I won't do it, I can't do it. Okay? I want to do it, how do I do it? I don't really know how to do it. Okay, I think maybe we'll do it, but I'll try it. Maybe it won't work. I can do it, I will do it, and I did it. And that's a journey. And so every single issue that's county, I don't know what you're going to hear in the county commission tonight. That's going to be interesting. When you see these issues come up that cause just chaos, think about this simple model, okay? And think about that old radio sitting in that home in the living room. You know, nobody sits around that anymore. Everybody does it behind this, okay? And questions? You gotta get to the county commission. What are your questions? Kathy, anything?